What it is I think Maddison went for 40 mil, and we're buying Mount for a lot more. And I just don't see what all the hype is about. I know there's better players out there, but we're a club like Man U. So I mean, we're a huge club. We've got to sign big players, big names. And you look at the likes now, De Gea, Rashford. I think these boys need to get out of the club.
So, I mean, look, the one thing I would say is you're not in the minority. Obviously, I do the United stand, talking about United on a regular basis. I see how the community reacts, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that Mason Mount is...
I'm a regular listener of you, Mark. I mean, I watch it all the time. Cameron. I'm a big fan of you. I mean, just
cheers, Cameron.
Boshing it up and that. But no,
I'm going to come back to a question with you, though. Can I just say, Cameron, there's a lot of people out there like yourself who are not happy with the Mason Mount signing. But where do you stand if I say back to you, well, this is a player that Erik ten Hag has admired for a long time. Surely you've got to back the manager because he could turn this player into something really, really fundamentally special within his team.
Yeah, we have got to back the manager. I understand that. But like I said again, I feel there's better players out there. But
do you think? Is it the value? Is it the transfer fee
as well? With our club as well, I feel like it's just too much dead wood in the club. And before we sign a lot of players, we got to get rid of a lot of players. Like look at De Gea this season; he's been abysmal. Like I'm pretty sure teams like Burnley wouldn't even take De Gea. So he's got to go at the end of the day. And 375 grand a week, shocking. So
Cameron was just talking there that doesn't really like the Mason Mount deal, but wants to back the manager. But mentioned David De Gea, £375,000 a week. He's got to go. He's deadwood. I'm sure he mentioned Marcus Rashford as well. I mean, I'd like to come back in there, but he was saved by the goal by England. Look, you know what? Obviously, it's all about opinion, and I think United fans are frustrated. No sale, etc. The transfer window looks very, very confusing. Where I would agree with Cameron is that David De Gea does need to leave, but probably not for the same reasons. I'm a big fan of David De Gea, but he has been disrespected by Manchester United. It's just what level of disrespect you think it is. They put a contract on the table. They retracted the contract. He wasn't going to be leaving. He was going to be the number one. He has just won the Golden Glove, which means he's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League last season. And now his contract ended on Friday. He's had his wedding this weekend. He doesn't know what he's doing. United clearly don't know what they're doing. It's chaotic. But I actually think the disrespect is so big to David De Gea that he should leave. I mean, however, I don't think United purposely or Ten Hag want to publicly humiliate David De Gea, but by consequence, they have. He and the rest of the world know that Man United are looking for a new goalkeeper because they don't think he's good enough. Now, if I'm David De Gea, you've got to embrace the change and you've got to take control of the situation. To sit around waiting for Man United to find out if they can buy a goalkeeper better than you, and if they can't afford it, they'll put up with you. I think you've got to go, I've given 12 years to this club. I've won Player of the Year 4 times. I've won the Golden Glove twice. I've been a fundamental part of this team that's not succeeded over the last 10 years, but I actually have delivered. I'm into my early 30s. I'm probably never going to play for Spain again. Man United probably aren't going to win any major prizes in the next couple of years. And in 2 years' time, I'm probably going to be looking to go anyway. I think David De Gea has been disrespected publicly, and I think he should just go, you know what? I wasn't planning on going now, but forget about it. I'm off to play in Saudi Arabia. I'll earn what I was earning before. I've got nothing to prove. I'm off because I have been disrespected publicly. Everybody in the footballing world knows I'm sort of hung out to dry, really, waiting to find out whether you can buy a better goalkeeper than me. I think Man United haven't handled this particularly well publicly. And I think it's because Ten Hag has had to pivot towards getting a new goalkeeper when he realised he wasn't getting Harry Kane, he wasn't getting Kim Min-jae, he wasn't getting Rabiot, and he still has a bit of money, and he's gone, well, if I can't get that, maybe I'll go for a goalkeeper. And it's ultimately led to this chaotic situation where even tonight we're hearing that United might be pulling out of a deal for Onana to go for a cheaper option from Feyenoord. So it's chaotic. And I think David De Gea has been disrespected. That's my thoughts on it. We're going to take another call from, let's go to Freddie. He's a Manchester United fan. He says, why aren't United going for a striker at the top of their shopping list? Freddie, I'm interested to see what you've got to say on this, because I feel the same.
Yeah, good afternoon, gents. Look, I'm deeply concerned by United's transfer goings at the moment. Our priority, and look, guys, it's been glaringly obvious since last season that we've been crying out for a striker. A striker should have been our number one. Should have been the number one signing this summer. Not going for, with the greatest respect, Mount is a great player, but it's not what we need at the moment. Greatest respect, we don't need a midfielder at the moment. We need an out-and-out striker. And I think with what's going on at the moment, with the takeover, I think it's put our plans, in ruins, to be honest with you. So I'm really concerned, because if we don't get a striker, I'm afraid we're not going to make the top four next season with everybody else bolstering their teams. It's really concerning, guys. Really
yeah,
concerning.
Freddie. Well, I want to just throw a question back at you, actually, because you raise a very good point. I'm sure there'll be non-United fans going, I feel my heart bleeds for you. You spent 250 million last summer. I'm sure you'll spend it again. But goals win games. Martial is never fit to play. Weghorst was a loanee. Rashford isn't really a striker. I mean, that's the only options we've got at this moment.
It's so concerning, mate. And, my fear is that with what's going on at the moment in the background, with the takeover, my concern is that we're going to end up buying a striker, but nowhere near the sort of calibre that we need to be fighting for the title next season.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried. Really worried, guys.
Freddie, thank you very much for calling in. Let's stick with the United just for a little bit here, because I've got Alan who wants to talk about Manchester United and the David De Gea situation, which I was just speaking about. What's your take on it, Alan?
Well, I'm really surprised at a Manchester United manager, how he's really let himself down to people that's listened to the story about De Gea and also Henderson. Obviously, I'm interested that Forest would get Henderson this season. We know he wants to come. We know he was happy being at the Mr. Hart, he sort of made it very difficult for Henderson. He's now cancelled De Gea's contract and then offered him another one at a lower price. I just think the way Ten Hag's going at the moment, he won't get any players, because players listening into the conversation and knowing what's happened before them must think, well, that's not going to happen to me. Surely Mr. Hart wants to get the best players, but he's never going to get them treating players like he's done. And if I was Ten Hag, I wouldn't look at United again. I'd walk away and say, no, thank you very much. I've done what I want to do. I'll hold my head up high, and I'll go and get a place somewhere else. I just think it's laughable, really.
Alan, I take it you're a Forest fan.
I am.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to say that because the Dean Henderson thing baffles many Man United fans. We want him to go, not because we think he's a bad goalkeeper. I think he'd be a good goalkeeper for Forest. There's a decent offer on the table, around £20 million. It's well rumoured that there's not a great relationship between Henderson and Ten Hag anyway, and yet he seems to be wrapped up in this whole De Gea, are United buying a goalkeeper thing. It's preposterous. If he ended up being Man United's number one next season, I think the footballing world's jaw would hit the ground. I don't understand why he's not a Nottingham Forest player.
Exactly. I mean, look at it from last season when apparently Dean was offered to be the first choice keeper at United starting of the season. And he completely went against what he said. Henderson ended up with, being the second choice keeper. He ended up on Forest's books for a loan. He did very well. Obviously, we lost him halfway through the beginning of the season because of the bad injury he got. We brought in Navas from Paris Saint-Germain. You know that looking at the whole story, that from De Gea's point of view, especially, I wouldn't even entertain going back to United. Once he's offered you a contract and then cancelled it and then offered you lower money, that to me is enough to say, no, well, I'm sorry, I can't work for you. But as regards Henderson told him exactly what he thought of him. He told me he didn't want to play for the club no more. For me, if I was Ten Hag, I'd say, all right, fair enough, on your back, away you go, and let Forest buy him. But he's just making it so difficult for players to be comfortable in what they're doing.
Alan, thank you. Great call. Let's grab another one. We've got Harry, Wolves fan. Harry, you just want to have a general chat about the transfer market. Interesting. What's your observations, pal?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might find it rich for someone like me to talk about transfers, given the fact that I'm a Wolves fan and we've brought absolutely nobody in yet. But, you know, I think in terms of Man United with the Mason Mount situation or something like that, you know, we've just seen the fact that Ruben Neves has gone to Saudi for 47 million quid. And for about, you know, you've just paid 75 million for Mason Mount to play in your midfield, which I think is absolutely extortionate, by the way. But when you...
Harry, one minute. This price for Mason Mount keeps going up. The previous Mark said it was 65. You're saying it's 75. It is 55, just to give you a bit of clarity. 55, which you probably think's too much anyway.
Yeah, either way, I think it's too much. You know, I'd be looking at 40 tops, really, at someone like Mason Mount. But then again, you get the English tax for someone like that. However, you know, people seriously underrate the likes of Ruben Neves for 47 million quid, who you know, look online at how the Wolves fans and Wolves fan base have reacted to someone like him leaving, which proves how pivotal he was to a team like us. And he's I mean, I watch him, and this isn't me genuinely not being biased, given the fact that I watch him week out. He's absolutely outstanding on his day. And he puts like an absolute benchmark on top of the likes of Mount. Even I've seen him in games, even when we were like playing really poor, and I've seen him outplay the likes of Paul Pogba at Man United in the season when Pogba was banged on for. And you know, there's other players around that you know, can go for much cheaper, like 40 million quid compared to 55 plus the add-ons of whatever it is. You know,
what do you think about how old was Ruben Neves? About 26, something like that.
26. Yeah. And do you know
what do you think about him going to? Look, I've got no problem with the player doing that. If he wants to go and earn good money in Saudi Arabia, he won't be the last. But do you think, were you disappointed by that? You know, such a good player. Would you like to have seen him at a Liverpool or someone like that?
From a personal perspective, obviously, you know, you do almost expect more because he is Champions League quality. That there is no doubt about it. We signed him from Porto, where he was captain in Porto at 18 years old in the Champions League. You know, so he's done it before, but people, look, we were really constricted with financial fair play, which is somehow baffling, given that Chelsea spend 800 odd million quid and get away with it somehow. But we were restricted by financial fair play. And I actually think from a personal point, he's done it not only to earn the good money, but to help the club out as well. Because with his sale, it's now lifted our restrictions of FFP and we have the ability to sign other players. So I think from that perspective, yeah, you know, it is disappointing, but granted, he's helped us out massively compared to, as well, the fact that he's helped us out massively for the past 6-7 years, however long it's been.